Oh, yes. Welcome, welcome. 13 weeks you've been with us here for your Thursday afternoon, evening, nightly session with us on Cocktails and Conversation. Nick Luck with you here in Teddington, Southwest London, and 6,000 miles or thereabouts away, Brittany Earton in not Los Angeles, California, but down in Del Mar. Brittany, a change is as good as a rest, they say. You're looking great.
It is. And to one of our guests today has said that the beginning of Del Mar still feels like the start of a new year. And I'm sure plenty of people looking forward to 2021. But I am looking forward to opening day at Del Mar, which is tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific time, first post time. And I will be live on site with a couple of my colleagues, which I'm so grateful for. Unfortunately, no owners, no spectators allowed, but we're going to do our best to bring that coverage to them as if they are live on site with us.
And because we're in that period where we've got Keeneland, Del Mar, Saratoga all starting, there is a certain sense of normalcy returning. But as you point out, these are great fan venues. These are great spectator venues. These are three of the celebrated, hallowed venues of American sport, never mind American horse racing. Mm-hmm. So it'll be odd, perhaps even odder, for them to feel empty.
I think that's what we've been talking about. The energy of Del Mar comes with not just its location, where the turf meets the surf, but with the energy of the crowd. It is a boutique meet, much like Keeneland is, which had an opening weekend just a couple of days ago. And looking forward to talking to Wesley Ward about that. But it's the energy of the track. Saratoga is the same way, and it will not be the same without spectators, without the owners there. So we'll do our best. But as you know, you've been live on site at some major race tracks. It's an odd feel. So we do our best. We do our best to bring that energy.
It is crazy. Here in the UK, Royal Ascot took place. No spectators, no owners. Epsom Derby last weekend. There were some owners there, which just pepped it up a tiny bit, but it was still strange having your iconic horse race being run behind closed doors. Not, however, as strange as the race itself, which saw a horse blast off, make all the running and not get caught at odds of 25-1. But if you field 6 horses in the race, then that's likely to happen than if you only field the one. But another one for Aidan O'Brien, another son of Galileo, and a brilliant ride from Emmett McNamara, the unheralded, unheard of globally, Emmett McNamara. But very good ride it was.
Huge ride. Yeah, another grade 1 win for Vekoma in the Met Mile, which was a win for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile at Belmont Park last weekend. Our next win in your in race is going to be the Haskell, coming to you from Monmouth Park, which will be next weekend, a win in your in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. But none of this, racing talk is complete on Cocktails and Conversations without a cocktail. So we have to bring in the supreme mixologist, Mark Tubridy, to tell us what we're making today.
There he is.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Thanks for being with us again. You're looking good. You're looking fresh. How's the week been?
The week has been good. Yeah, it's been getting hotter and hotter here in New York, but my parents were so nice to buy me a nice fan to blow in this direction, keep me cool as I make these cocktails. So I'm super excited for this show. I know it might be a little late for a Bloody Mary where you are, Nick, but I think you can pull it off in San Diego. Brittany, we're going to be making some great Bloody Marys, some Keeneland breezes. So it's going to be a fantastic show. I'm really excited.
And people are thirsty. Kevin Flannery said, "Oh no, where's Mark? We're thirsty. Don't worry." Covered, Kenny.
All right. Well, it makes me feel good to know that I'm missed. I'm here. I'm ready to go. So super excited for this week.
Perfect. We have so much to cover, Nick. I mean, do we want to just delve straight into it, bring in our first guest and get rolling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do that because we've got 2 fantastic guests for you this evening. Wesley Ward, who's a great fan of the show, I know, and we're great fans of his, will be along a little bit later. But first of all, a 5-time Breeders' Cup winner, a multiple Classic winner, a multiple Kentucky Derby winner. He is the first guest in 13 weeks that is joining us from the driver's seat of a rental car. Please welcome Doug O'Neill, ladies and gents, doing it in style. He is there. Look, we can see him, but can we hear him?
I'm in the house. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Just about.
Can you hear me, you guys? Hello. Just about. All right, I'll speak up. But I apologize. I'm not in a lovely building or room or like you guys look so relaxed and comfortable. I'm in a car, but it's just part of what we do in this horse racing world, right? We're always on the move.
Yeah. Well,
So,
safety first, of course.
Excited to be down here at Del Mar.
It's so great to have you on the show. And I read this quote from you, and it really struck a chord with me because I've come down to Del Mar every year of my life for the summer. It's obviously different this year, but for you and for all the success you've had at this Seaside Opal, what is it about this meeting and opening day that really gets you and your barn excited?
I really think, even though it's not January 1st, it does feel like the first day of a new year when you come down here. It's unique this year, of course, but generally, when you've got all these new people that don't necessarily drive up to LA to the races, that live down in Del Mar in the San Diego area, coming out to the races, and right along the seaside here, it's a beautiful venue, and like you guys mentioned, it's got that feel of Keeneland, Saratoga. It's just a special meet, and again, unique all over the world. So we're all in the same boat, but everyone's making the most of it. And thank God there's, they're letting the racing continue. So we're going to focus on that.
Doug, you've won 6 training titles at Del Mar. There'll be nobody happier to have Del Mar back than you, as you've said. Can you take us right back to the first time you can remember setting foot on that place?
Wow, God, it was probably age 10 with my dad, Pat, and probably my best bud, Mark Verge. I think it was us 3 down there, and it was prior to all the ADWs. So if you wanted to go to the races, you had to actually go to the races. So that was a special time for sure. And I knew the very first track I ever stepped foot in was Santa Anita, and I knew the first time I stepped foot on the track why my dad loved the sport so much. And but as Del Mar rolled around later on in the year when we went down there's something there's a special vibe down here, and everything just Santa Anita is awesome, and this place is just awesome +1. It's just a little bit more awesome for whatever reason.
We won't tell anybody at Santa Anita that you said that, but you've really been a California guy.
Yeah.
You live on the west side. Yes, you've traveled around the world and you've had outfits in other places across the country, but California, it seems like it has been the place for you. Why is that? Is it just a matter of growing up down here and falling in love with it at a young age?
Yeah, I think, I was so blessed to start out here in California and being able to be on the same platform and listen to guys like Charlie Whittingham and Bobby Frankel and Jack Van Berg, and it was like hanging around your heroes of whatever sport you love, and so it's just again very blessed to have started off in a part of the world where there was legends that will always be remembered, and I got to I don't know, make friends with them would probably be a stretch, but got to say hi to them every morning and got to watch what they did, and hopefully I picked up a few things of their brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, how strong is your squad this year, do you think?
In numbers, we're pretty good. We've got about 75 horses out here in California, so we've got a pretty strong number of horses. And as far as depth goes, it's hard to tell. We probably have about 20, 25 2-year-olds, and this is the time of year where you're hoping the next 2-year-old that comes in might be the next, for me, the next Mike Whitter. I'll have another, and so it's a very exciting time of year, and until they run, you never know. But I feel like we got a pretty strong stable starting off Del Mar this year.
A horse that really leads out your stable year in and year out is the legend, Hall of Fame horse, Lava Man, who won the Pacific Classic many years ago. And had you tried to retire him and take him off the track and he just wanted to come back? He looks like, when I saw him lead out the horses for the Gold Cup at Santa Anita not too long ago, that he could still go out there and beat the best of them.
Oh, you're right, Brittany. He absolutely loves it, and we turned him out for about 4 months, 6 months, and he just kind of dropped off. You know, he seemed depressed and just wasn't his normal self. The owners of the Kenley family and the Wood family were kind enough to let us bring him back in, and we converted him into, he's our main coach. He's with us every day, and he probably chaperones, you know, anywhere from 4 to 5 babies and some young horse to the track every day. And so he's a great mentor to the young horses, and selfishly, he's just a dream to be around for all the human connections, because he's literally, it's like having, you know, a Hall of Fame human athlete with you on a daily basis. He's a legend, and we have the pleasure to spend every day with him. It's a real blessing.
Hands down, the greatest claim of all time, right, Nick?
Oh, for sure. And what I want to know is how did it happen?
How did it happen? You know, Steve Kenley had called me the previous time he had run and wanted to claim him. And the brain surgeon I said, nah, I don't see it. And he ran, I think, 4th that day. And Steve said, if he comes back in for the same price or anything lower, I don't care what you say, I want him. And he popped back up 2 or 3 weeks later for $50,000, and we took him, and the rest is history. But I actually ran him in a claiming race one time when I had him, and he won. I think those were 80 or 100, and obviously he didn't get claimed. But he really rattled off 3 years there that was just unheard of in the sport, in any sport really, to have a top year, multiple years. It was pretty incredible, and you know, a lot of credit to Lava Man's success too would have to go to Jimmy Jimenez, our shoer, who now is retired. But the old cliche, no foot, no horse. You know, one of Lava Man's issues were his feet, and Jimmy Jimenez did a wonderful job of keeping his feet healthy and strong, and it really helped us keep that run going.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, your first Breeders' Cup win was back in 2005 with Stevie Wonderboy. You were pretty well established by then, but was that still a breakthrough moment for you, just to get that first one on the scoreboard?
Well, it was, and it was for the late great Merv Griffin, who you know, is a TV celebrity, and you know, he started Wheel of Fortune. You know, he's a real big wig in the Hollywood world. So just to be able to train for him was a wow moment. And then to win the Breeders' Cup with a horse that, you know, I think Stevie Wonder, I might have this wrong, but I think his first national TV appearance was on the Merv Griffin show. So he was friendly with Stevie Wonder, and he named that horse Stevie Wonder Boy. So it was very, very exciting to get that win. He was such a cool horse himself, but also to be part of the team, you know, Merv Griffin team at the time, was very special.
He seems to really love everything about racing, especially here in California. What was he like just as a person and as an owner when it comes to the horse racing game?
Oh, Merv was just all horse. He absolutely loved it. Prior to getting in the racing world, he was really big with the Arabs in the Arab world. So he just loved the beauty and the majesty of horses. And he had a beautiful place out in La Quinta, in Palm Springs area, where he had a lot of horses. So it just, I think in his hectic, nonstop life, being around horses brought a lot of calm to him and a lot of pleasure. And yeah, he really never cared what the purse was, never cared really how often they ran. He just loved talking about his horses and just seeing how they were doing. And yeah, it was a real awesome to be part of the business with a guy who was so successful in his business.
My mom used to tell me this story how I was playing goldfish with her when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old, and Merv Griffin came over and he was trying to help me with my hands. And she said that I gave him the worst stink eye ever. I was a complete brat. Now I know why I never made it in Hollywood.
There's still time.
So, well, we shall see. We shall see. But Doug, you have so many different owners, lots of personalities, of course. And I have to say, you always seem happy and positive at the racetrack. How do you balance the horseman side of things and the ownership side of things and keep that smile on your face?
God, that's I think surrounding myself with good, positive people, and every morning I wake up and I try to remember to be grateful, to be compassionate, and to take pride in what I do. And so again, I'm just so blessed to have some really solid friends that are there with me, in ups and downs of life, and I try to be there for them as well. So I think horses are so they're mirrors of ourselves, and if you give them great energy and gratitude, they'll give it back to you. And so it's just a beautiful thing. And we got so many grooms and hot walkers that are love what they do too. So just to being able to work alongside horses with a bunch of great people, it's a real blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still, Doug, finding yourself able to get that energy off the horses, even though there's no crowd to play to in the afternoon or in the evening? You're still getting the energy off the horses, off the training, to be able to keep the whole team happy and buoyant and optimistic?
Yeah, I would say early on, in late March or whenever it got real crazy, it was difficult because the uncertainty level was, 10 out of 10. But, I think once we were able to at least race, it gave us something to really be grateful for on a daily basis. And like you say, it's unique, it's weird, strange, and but owners are happy that they can at least see their horses compete on TVG, and so it's I tell you, whenever this pandemic leaves us, whenever that is, it's going to be quite a moment to have people back, fans and friends and owners and all of us together to celebrate horse racing all together again. So I am looking forward to that. Hopefully it's sooner than later.
Yeah, fingers crossed. One of your owners actually is watching right now. Eric Johnson, who was also on Cocktails and Conversations with us a few weeks ago, wants to know if you are in a closet currently.
Am I in the closet? What did he ask?
Yeah, he asked if you were in a closet. No, Eric, he is in his car and he's doing a wonderful interview with us. Doug, when you look back on all your successes, 2 Kentucky Derby wins, Nick touched on all your Breeders' Cup victories. And I know this is probably a tough question, but is there one moment that just really stands out to you above the rest?
God, I would say probably the Preakness of I'll Have Another. That was probably one of those where I felt like if I got hit by a bus that night, I'd lived my dreams in the sport. So that moment, and I was with my wife Lynette and my son and daughter, my son Daniel and my daughter Kaylin, and just looked like Bodemeister. We weren't going to be able to get him, and just I'll Have Another kept to his task. And when he got up, it was just like the most exciting moment. And then Baltimore, Pimlico puts on the most amazing Preakness Day events ever. So, I knew it was going to be something we were going to party and celebrate. I'll Have Another for hours and days after that. So, and we did. but that was probably the highlight that jumps out of my head right now.
We're going to take a look back at it right now. You watching the Preakness with your daughter and your wife, and the signature fedora.
Mm. My daughter's saying I can't breathe because we start squeezing her.
Wow.
Gives me chills to watch. Did you know that he would become the horse that he did? Did you see that in the early stages?
Not at all. You know, he was a real blue collar, hard knocking horse, but nothing. But that credit to Paul and Zilla Redham. You know, they buy nice horses, really nice horses. They take really good care of them. They're patient with them. And then Paul, if they're doing well, Paul wants to give them a chance to show how good they could be. And and it was all his doing, running him into Bob Lewis off a long layoff, and he won that at long odds, and that led us to you know, then the Santa Anita Derby and the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. So that's a complete Paul Redham made memory there that I'll never forget.
Well, it was a wonderful moment, and one I think we should celebrate, Mark, with your first drink of the evening.
Absolutely. Guys,
Yes.
when we think of brunch cocktails, nothing comes to mind more than the Bloody Mary. And it's actually among this very small group of cocktails, which are savory cocktails. We don't have a lot of those. It's right there with the Dirty Martini. But that small genre of cocktails is full of some great classics. So the Bloody Mary was thought to have been created by Fernand Petiot. He was a barman that was working at the New York bar in Paris. And that's when he first started experimenting with vodka and tomato juice. But it wasn't until he moved to the King Cole Bar at the St. Regis Hotel right here in Manhattan that he really perfected that drink and brought it to be what we know as the Bloody Mary today. Now, at that time, it was actually known as the Red Snapper at the King Cole Bar, and I think they still might refer to it. But of course, we know it as the famous Bloody Mary.
Okay, Mark, let me get myself set up here. Doug, are you a big Bloody Mary guy, or what's your drink of choice?
Water.
My drink of choice would be water right now would be good. But yeah, I'll take a rain check in. Whatever you guys are drinking, I'll catch up with you.
Perfect. Doug, thank you so much. We could talk.
I got my water.
We could talk to you for hours. Thank you for joining us in your car. I know it's been a crazy busy day for you. I know you're heading to Keeneland tomorrow for a race out there. So good luck. Thank you for joining us. And we're you know what, Nick, I think we could say this right now. I want Doug to come on again so we could have, sit down, cocktail with him, and have a lot of conversation to come. So Doug, would you join us again maybe in a few weeks?
100%, and I'll be in a proper setting to where I don't look like I'm in a closet. And so no, I look forward to it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting up with this Mickey Mouse setup I've got going on here. So thank you.
Not at all. Not at all. It's
great.
We heard every word, and it's great to see you, car or no car. Doug O'Neill, enjoy Del Mar, and best of luck for the meet ahead. Mark Tubridy, back to you.
Yeah. So guys, there are pretty much as many Bloody Mary recipes as there are cans of tomato juice in the world. I mean, everybody has their own recipe, and most of them are really fantastic. So today what I want to focus on is just showing you how we make our basic Bloody Mary mix at the 21 Club. Really no bells or whistles. It's just the basic building blocks of a good Bloody Mary. So what are those basic building blocks when we think about that? Now, essentially, almost in a culinary sense, we want to hit all the major flavor points. So you're going to see as we introduce each ingredient, each one is going to add something different to the cocktail, and it's going to come into this harmonious balance by the time that we finish mixing it. And I think, Brittany, do you have some of those ingredients there? Are you going to be making this with me?
I do. I'm going to do my best. I didn't bring my bar cart full of stuff with me, but I think I can make do. So okay. I'm ready.
All right. Sounds good. So first, the primary ingredient of a Bloody Mary, of course, is tomato juice. So you can use canned tomato juice. I've got just kind of this bottled version. You want it to have that thick quality. I know sometimes people will do like fresh tomato juice, and that's fine. But I think one of the nice things about a Bloody Mary is that luxurious sort of kind of smooth texture. So we're going to start with about 7 ounces of our tomato juice because we want a nice big Bloody Mary, and we're going to pour this directly into a large pint glass. Okay, so about 7 ounces.
I don't know what 7 ounces is. Just like 7 seconds.
Yeah, I would say. I didn't even measure that out. If I had a measuring cup, I would do that, but you can eyeball it. I think that's the majority of what you're going to be drinking. That looks good to me. Absolutely.
Good. Okay.
So that is the sweet element, right? So we have sweet tomato juice, but I don't think anybody wants a Bloody Mary that tastes like tomato juice. In fact, for me, that is the hallmark of a bad Bloody Mary. So we have to counteract that sweetness. So we add sweetness. We want to add acidity. So at this point, we want to add some lemon juice. And for 7 ounces of tomato juice, I would say just shy of half an ounce of lemon juice is perfect. So even maybe half a lemon squeezed in there is perfect.
Okay, so I'll do half of this because this is about 1 lemon.
All right, so that's going to go a long way in transforming that tomato juice into something different, something more nuanced. Now, so far we have sweetness and acidity, right? Think almost like we're building a dish here. The next thing we want to add is umami. So the umami comes from Worcestershire sauce. A little difficult to say, but it's absolutely delicious.
I love it.
A very, very nuanced condiment. And we're going to add a half ounce of this as well. And you're going to see, as we kind of go down this line of different ingredients, we are going to slowly transform this mixture into something really greater than the sum of its parts.
Is that too much?
Hey,
that may be too much. I would do half that, I think.
Mark, you know there's a shortage of real Worcester sauce in Britain at the moment.
Really?
A genuine short. Well, the original Worcestershire sauce is made by Lee and Perrins.
Yes.
And it doesn't taste like any other Worcestershire sauce. The Lee and Perrins is the Worcestershire sauce.
Absolutely.
All the others are poor by comparison. It's a bit like Coke and Virgin Cola or whatever. And it's been a great source of disappointment to me that Lee and Perrins has been off the supermarket shelves for some time now. It's been the biggest comestible casualty of lockdown, but I'm very much hoping it comes back soon.
Well, do you drink Bloody Marys, Nick?
I do, yeah. But I put that stuff on everything, like cottage pie, fish pie, whatever.
Great. And it's been around since the early 19th century, I think. And when you look at the list of ingredients, because of course I did that in preparation for this show, it's a nuanced recipe, and it absolutely is one of the cornerstones of the Bloody Mary. But on that note, I think we just came across another horse name, which was, what was that, comestible casualty? Nick?
Yeah, comestible casualty. I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure you'd be allowed.
I don't know if that's good luck or not.
There are too many horse-eating connotations there for you to be allowed that.
Oh my God. All right. So moving on. So we've hit 3 different notes. So we have our sweetness, our acid, and now our umami. It's time to season our cocktail. So we're going to add some salt and pepper. We're going to start with about a half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt here. Just like with food, you have to remember that you can always add salt. You can't take it away. So we want to be conservative. About a half a teaspoon is a good place to start with the salt. And I would say 3 to 4 grinds of freshly cracked pepper. All right. How you doing there, Britt?
You know what? I'm not very good at eyeballing these things, so we'll
it's
see
okay.
how
You know, I got to tell you, when we make the Bloody Mary mix at 21, we do it in a giant jug like this, and I count everything. I'm not measuring like this. It probably would be a good idea to get everything down to these measurements, but some of it is just muscle memory. But I'm sure you're doing fine. It's going to taste great, and we're going to add the vodka, so regardless, it's going to be delicious. It's going to do the trick. So at 21, in addition to salt and pepper, we add a little salinity and some complexity with just a touch of olive brine. So we're going to add 1/4 ounce to a half ounce of olive brine. That's just going to add another layer to our Bloody Mary. Now, I know this is a litany of different ingredients, but we're on our last ones right now, and I'm sure it gets much more complicated for certain recipes. We try to keep it pretty basic.
Up again.
Yep, but now we want to add spice. Now, not everybody likes a spicy Bloody Mary, but I know if you were out partying the night before, you may want that little kick in the morning. So we can do this in any number of different ways, but Tabasco sauce is a great way to impart that spice. I'm going to do 3 dashes right in there. And if you like, you can also do a teaspoon or so of horseradish. Now, when we do this mix at 21, we intentionally keep the Tabasco pretty light and we keep the horseradish out entirely. That's because not everybody likes it, so you can always add that in afterwards. And that's a great recommendation. If you were to be batching this at home, just keep that in mind. Not everybody likes the spiciness. Okay. So at this point, we really have our basic Bloody Mary mix. Now, you can keep that virgin If you're like Doug, that you're driving in the car and you need a Virgin Mary, keep it like that. But for the rest of us that want the full effect, we're going to add 2 ounces of Tito's Handmade vodka.
Okay.
You can always add more if you'd like, but we'll start with 2 ounces. Now, it should be noted that you can actually make Bloody Mary mix the night before and leave that in the refrigerator. And if anything, it's only going to get better. Those flavors are going to marry together nicely, and you're going to chill your mixture. So all you have to do the next day is just pour that mixture with some vodka and ice in a glass, and you're done. But because we're making this kind of in the moment or a la minute, since we're talking cooking terms, we're going to give this a little stir with our bar spoon. And I'm going to teach you a new technique for mixing a cocktail. So we all know stirring and shaking. What we're going to do for this is we're going to roll the cocktail. And what that means is we're going to add some ice to our glass, and we're going to gently pour that back and forth between 2 containers. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some ice. What that's going to do is chill our cocktail and incorporate these different ingredients, because we have so much going on here, but we're not going to aggressively aerate the cocktail or over dilute it.
So Mark, this is neither shaken nor stirred. It's rolled.
Exactly, it's rolled. And actually, in the second part of our show tonight, I'm going to be talking about some common bartending terminology, things like rolling, I guess even throwing cocktails. So I'm going to try to clue you into some of the terms that we use behind the bar that you may hear, you may not always understand what they are. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be later on. But for right now, yes, we're going to roll this just gently back and forth.
Think, because this could make a huge mess. So.
It could. Now, we're only going to do this a few times, guys. And again, the main purpose is to chill this down and really just incorporate those ingredients. We're going to end with it back in our glass. That's a nice big Bloody Mary there. I've got this in a pint glass. And now we get to the fun part. I'm going to keep talking while Brittany finishes there. Hopefully she's avoiding a mess. And the fun part with Bloody Marys is the garnishes. Now, I know you guys have seen on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, people go, that looks beautiful. That's me talking, not social media. But people go crazy with these garnishes. Burgers, shrimp. I even saw some of our viewers, the Dickinsons, put a piece of steak on the Bloody Mary that they made earlier today. They tagged me in a post, and it looks absolutely beautiful. At the 21 Club, we keep it really simple. We're going to do just a nice little lemon wedge, maybe a stick of celery here. And you can never go wrong with some pickled vegetables. So we've got a little cornichon. I even put an olive on there. You guys know I don't like olives, but when in Rome, why not? So we end up with a nice Bloody Mary. I'm going to try to get this on camera. I know a lot of people will be having these at Del Mar, but this is great for your kitchen, your living room. No other way to start off your weekend than a great Bloody Mary. Cheers, guys.
Mark Tubridy's Bloody Mary, a bit like the participants of this show, a little bit sweet, a little bit sour, and Mark,
a little bit spicy.
And a little bit
umami. Yeah.
Umami. Cheers, guys.
Good. I think I could put some more, because I don't have any Tabasco. They didn't have that at Trader Joe's. So I could put in maybe a little bit more pepper, I guess, to make it.
I've seen people do Serrano chilies. You can get really creative. And again, that's kind of a basic recipe, but people go all out. I've seen people put A1 sauce in there. But for me, it's always best. Yeah, it's always best to learn the basics, and you can improvise off of that. But that's really the fun part about Bloody Marys. It's a canvas for creativity. So whether it's the garnishes or the mix itself, have some fun with it. You can't go wrong. Do it to your own personal taste. But cheers. It's one of my favorite drinks. My wife doesn't really like it so much, so this one's safe. She's not going to take it.
Cheers.
Is she there?
Cheers.
Do we get to see her?
Oh, yeah.
No, do we get to see your wife?
Oh, no. She wouldn't let that happen. Not at the moment. Nope. One of these days, we are going to do it. We are going to do it.
The cellar door is still locked. As we welcome our next guest on Cocktails and there he is. Look, it's Wesley Ward, everybody. Wesley, it's been too long.
I know.
Nick, what's up, everybody?
Oh, it's great to have you with us. We missed you. I missed you at Royal Ascot, but the meet didn't, because you still sent a horse over. Which one?
Lucky.
You know it takes a little bit more than luck, but what was that like for you? You've had, 10 before this horse one, but such a different atmosphere being at home watching it. Where were you? Give us the entire day for you.
Oh, we were here. Actually, we were here working every morning with the horses here at Keeneland, and then we would come into the tack room here in my office and watch it on the races on the TV. So it worked out great.
Did you go in expecting a win this year, or was it a nice surprise?
Well, anytime you lead a horse over, no matter where you are, you're thinking you're going to win it. You know, you realize what you're up against. But it was fantastic. I've been lucky that way. I won a couple Breeders' Cups when I stayed at my son's track championship one year. So, you know, by doing the right thing and not going over there and trying to adhere to all this stuff, maybe I was blessed. But, you know, Barbara Banky's filly ran fantastic that day, you know, to close out the meet. And Frankie, he sent me a video afterwards how he was the one that did it for me, and it was all him.
Yeah.
He owed you for last year against Kamari and that beat. But how different was it for you this year? Obviously, with the pandemic, there were so many adjustments that trainers had to make in prepping their horses for these races. And you would normally have had Keeneland. It is your meet during the spring, and getting these horses prepped and ready to go to England. How challenging was it this year with everything that you had to adjust to?
Yeah, it really, really hurt me. It really set me back because we have a sort of a plan with all the 2-year-olds over the years, decades now, second decade going over there. And, you know, everything kind of falls in line, and the cream usually rises to the top by the time we get to Keeneland, and you can visually see which ones are kind of maturing into the ones that you're going to bring over there. And then with abandoning the Keeneland meet, we were having to send horses back down to a tropical climate in Florida where it's cold up here in the wintertime when we start moving in here. Mm-hmm. And so it was really hard, not only for me and to kind of see the horses evolve, but also for the horses themselves. And, you know, I'm thankful that Barbara's filly came through, and I was a little worried going from a tropical climate down in Florida, especially that late in the year, 3 weeks or just under 3 weeks from race to race, and she pulled it off. She's really something, that filly.
Yeah, she really is special, really special. And when does she come back?
We have her here at Keeneland now. She came out. You wouldn't even know she ran. A lot of horses when they come back, so much going over, but when they come back, they lose a lot of weight. This filly got off, and then Barbara was here to see her herself. And she looked fantastic. You couldn't even believe she ran such a hard, beautiful race. I mean, she shipped right back in. She looks like she could run here at this Keeneland meet.
Well, you have the most serene setup I have ever seen. The tobacco barn that is on top of these rolling hills and walking distance from Keeneland. I wish that everybody could get a little visual. I don't think we have video of it, but it's how do you think that it sets horses up for their best performance? This is something you and I spoke about in a separate video. What is it about that place that you think really helps these horses develop?
You know, I really just think it's a magical place. The horses, you know, what we have is we have the really good ones, or we have the ones that are sort of get off feed or finicky eaters, or whatever. We keep them up there, and it's almost like they're at a farm, yet they get into the opportunity to train here at Keeneland on the track. So they really start to kind of fill out, mature, and get dapples all over them. It's a you know, if any trainer was a trainer, they'd be dying to train in a place like that. I'm so lucky.
You're lucky, and the horses and your success clearly keeps you looking so youthful, Wesley, because it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. It's 36 years since you were champion apprentice. I mean, you were clearly 10 years old.
That's what when Judy the Beauty won the Eclipse Award. You know, you're going over what you're going to say as the speech, and I really, you know, I only my education is limited, so I was kind of writing things down, and I knew I'd forget it, and so finally my son was with me, Riley, my oldest son, and I said, well, I'm just going to wing it. So I got up there, and it wasn't really the right thing to do, but I held her Eclipse Award up, and I said, I didn't know what to say at first, and I said, it's been 100 pounds since I had one of these.
What are we looking at here? Is that Andre the Giant you're with? And
that's Andre the Giant. That's my buddy Nick Santagata there, and Richard Privatera up top. And Nick I didn't even have a driver's license at that time. Nick used to drive me back and forth to the Meadowlands from Belmont.
So how did you meet him? Where is this?
This is in Madison Square Garden.
Amazing. So you three were all promising apprentices at the time, and he was in his pomp to the WWF as it was then, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's a great guy too.
Ah, fantastic.
How much do you miss riding? Did you wish you would have stayed down that path longer, or do you enjoy training more?
I wish I really went into a state of depression the first year I stopped, because it was all I wanted to do when I was a little boy. And, I just grew out of the job. No matter how hard I tried, I was 21 when I stopped riding. I couldn't get down to the which was the heaviest, but the minimum weight for being heavy. And so, I kind of didn't know what I was going to do. And so I was kind of lost the first year out there. I just galloped horses for a year and trying to figure out which direction I was going to go. And in that year, I knew I wanted to stay with the horses.
And so, which year did you take out your trainer's license? Was it pretty well straight away? Because you've been training a long time now.
Yeah, I just stayed about a year off. So I started training when I was 22, and I started so young. I made so many mistakes when I was so young. It really helped me. I didn't really learn under anybody, but when I was a jockey, I knew there was going to be an end. So in riding all over the world, I kept my eyes open from that side to sort of watch and see how people do things, and sort of didn't just focus on riding, but also knew I was going to have to go into something. So I picked it up.
Delivery's here, Brittany.
A man that knows something about riding and then training. That was my father. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Pete.
Wesley says hello.
Hello. How you doing, Wesley?
Yeah. Sorry.
That's it.
Is he drinking?
Hey, Pete.
Oh, it's too early out there.
No, he went. It's my mother's birthday on Monday, so he was doing a little shopping for her. But Wesley, when you took out your trainer's license, because you've made such a career with these young horses, and finding those that are precocious, did you have an idea what type of realm you wanted to go in training? Did you think that 2-year-olds was going to be your game at the time? Obviously, you've done so much more than that. But when you first kicked out your career, was that a priority for you, young horses?
It's something I was really familiar with. I was always breaking horses as a young boy. That's how I learned how to ride in the wintertime. And so when I started training, I broke some horses, and we trained a lot of cheap horses up in Washington State for the first year. And I knew I wanted to get back to the mainstream of racing, and I wanted to get to Santa Anita, really. And I went down with 6 of my best horses after the first year of training, which were all $10,000 claimers, lower level at Santa Anita at that time. And I found it hard to win. Training is completely different than riding. There's no real correlation, so to speak, between the two. And as I got there and I was losing the first, learning and losing, but learning at such a young age, I kind of thought, well, there's a little bit of a niche in Southern California. If you can get your 2-year-olds ready early, you're not competing against, which is now Bob Baffert and all these guys that have the more high-profile, high-line horses that come out during Del Mar. But early on at Santa Anita, they used to have the quarter-mile races, and they would be $50,000 purses. So I used to buy real typey, fast horses, start getting them ready right from the sale. The next day I'd be on them and teaching them how to run. And I found a little bit of a niche for the first few years. I could run there and win. And then by the time they had the winning races, claiming races during Del Mar against for 50, a lot of my horses would get claimed. So I'd realize a pretty big profit. And that's how I kind of got going.
Do you have a camper coming in as well?
And I guess it was a similar pioneering spirit which brought horses to Ascot, because although that was much later, you had an edge. You had a real edge there for the first couple of years. Your horses were so much more forward than most of your competitors were.
I got really lucky the first time. It grew in the States here, where I started getting more horses and a reputation for 2-year-olds. So a lot of the owners, and myself included, I invest with. I was starting to get better horses then, and I had no real place to run them until the stakes started in August. So I was looking at Ascot, and it was very foreign. I'd never been there. And I thought, well, let me take a chance at it one year, because I had won a couple of the 2-year-old races, the 2-year-old stakes races, which at that time was in Kentucky on Derby Day, the WHAS stakes. And I had no real place to run from there. There was one race. So I thought, well, now I have these horses. They're fast. They're proven. They're winners. Let me go over and try it one time. A lot of people thought I was crazy. But I got really lucky in that year, the ground was lightning fast. Mm-hmm. And I brought Johnny over. Johnny was great. He came over and rode for me, and he rode fantastic. And we won a couple of races right off the bat. And the rest is, I learned a lot by going there, though. I learned about the ground and what you can bring and what not to bring and all the different horses. And I've learned a lot that I brought back to the States. I always try to stable in a different yard over there. And I try to pick up things from the trainers that I go. We're only there 10 days prior to the races. So if I can get there and learn something from some of the trainers' yards that I've stabled at, you bring it back, and it's something that's all a learning experience in racing.
I mean, do you have a victory there that you particularly treasure above all the others?
Winning with undrafted was unbelievable. To have them win that day, a Group 1, in front of the Queen presents the trophy, and all my kids were there. It's a memory I'll never forget. Especially Frankie rode such a beautiful race because he was such a fickle horse to ride, to where you had to get him to the outside. And what's amazing about Frankie, he's besides being a great guy and a great rider, it's just the instinct that he has from riding all over the world and thousands of races. He could feel the horse to where he needed to be on the outside, and that's the horse. Like, if you can't get him during his races, if you ever try to come through, he just wouldn't do it. But if he got the perfect trip where he was able to come around, he could outrun anybody when he was good, and he did that day.
When did the great friendship begin between you and Frankie Dettori?
He was at a lull in his career, and my eldest son and I went into the jockey's room, and he wasn't even riding that day. We didn't know. He was putting his top hat and tails on to go to do some interviews out on the course that morning. And we were just a little bit apprehensive. I'd never talked to him ever. I'd always admired him from when he used to come and ride and win in the Breeders' Cup. And you hear a lot about him, but we don't. At that time, we really didn't. I didn't know a lot about English racing. I just knew his name. And so my son and I went in early to drop the colors off, and he was there. And he was a little standoffish, kind of. He was kind of getting ready. And so when he was going out, I introduced my son to him and myself, and I said, what are you riding today? He wasn't even riding. And so I invited him at the end of the meeting, when I seen him again, to come to Saratoga. I said, look, if he says he was thinking about retiring that year. He just wasn't, the people weren't riding him. He kind of lost, wasn't in favor of all the jockeys. And so he came, he accepted the offer. He came, and we got really lucky. He won 3 races for me at Saratoga, and he had a great time there. And then we ended up, he ended up winning the Breeders' Cup that year for me and Hootenanny. And from there, we just everything kind of clicked. And just a great guy. He comes to Miami, he stays with me. All my kids love him because he's an animated guy. So he's really a good guy.
So can we attribute the resurgence in Frankie's career to you, Wesley?
I'll take it.
Take it.
I remind him of that when I get him too.
I think all joking aside, I think it's a big part of it, because he was not down and out, but he was having a really bad spell, and he lost the Godolphin job, and then the Wesley's Breeders' Cup winner came along, and I remember driving to the airport with him the next day, and he was like a different man. And then he got the Al Shakab job, and then he was back with Gosden again, and suddenly
he got Lady Aurelia.
Then he got Lady Aurelia to top the lot. So I sent him a text this year. I said he had rides at Ascot for Godolphin, who he hadn't ridden for ages. Coolmore, once the idea of riding for the 2 in the same day was completely impossible. Wesley Ward, the Queen, John Gosden, Sir Michael Stout. I said it's like an episode of This Is Your Life. It's like his entire career in one day, if he could ride winners for all of them.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's a funny guy too. Besides all that, if you get him out and you get a little red wine in him, he's a funny guy. He'll keep you hold your stomach laughing. He's that funny.
Well, hey, Wesley, what is your drink of choice? It says cocktails and conversations. What's your drink?
I brought it. I got Dariouche
Oh,
tonight. Don't tell Barbara though. We do drink her
Hey.
one.
Dariouche is unbelievable. I visited their winery for the first time, and it is just glamorous, and the wine is to die for.
Wesley, did Strike the Tiger make the trip over this year or not?
He didn't go this year. No, I was really lucky this year in that. There you are.
Wesley, why in the world did you allow him to do that?
Oh my word! Look at that stylist on the Great Strike the Tiger. Every time that picture gets shown, I get a lot of people giving me a hard time for not wearing a hard hat. Quite right too. I should have been wearing a hat. But there you are. It's not every day you get legged up on a Royal Ascot winner.
Pretty epic.
I still my pony right here at Keeneland.
You also have one of your Breeders' Cup winners not too far away, right? Is Hootenanny on the farm as well? And it's Judy the Beauty there.
Hootenanny, Judy the Beauty, and then right in front of the house that I live in at the Lister's farm is Undrafted. He's out there with 4 retired broodmares.
That's so special to have them so close to you. When you look back at the Breeders' Cup, and we talk about how in America, I guess the closest thing that we have to Royal Ascot, of course, we don't have Her Majesty, would be the Breeders' Cup with the elite racing. It's international, and of course, the celebration with the fans and the spectators and the love for it. When you try and describe the Breeders' Cup to somebody, what do you say?
When I try to describe the Breeders' Cup when I'm in England, or
no,
just people I don't know.
To somebody, like what is it about those 2 days, that really captures the imagination or your love just in general?
Oh, it's 2 days of the best horses from all over the world. And I try to explain it like it's the Super Bowl of horse racing. Mm-hmm. It's, where you get every level of and distance of horses, and surface is, from the dirt to long to the dirt short, sprinting, long on the turf and short on the turf. It's a culmination of all these different horses where they can really show who's the best on the day. And to have 2 days makes it even more special.
Mm-hmm.
Wesley, because you've had so much success at the Breeders' Cup and at Ascot and at home all over with really good, fast turf horses, is there an itch that you have to scratch now to win a huge dirt race just to show everybody, look, I could train any horse on any surface? If there was one little piece of the jigsaw that needed to be slotted in, what would it be?
Well, obviously, everybody wants to win the Derby. But when I go to the Derby, I want to be in the Derby when I have a really, really legitimate chance, not just putting one in that, would be a long shot. So I've yet to have one. I had one in the race that was the first time also eligible, Pablo Del Monte, a horse of which I bred. And we had a defection, and Michael Tabor, thought it over and just thought it wasn't best that he ran. I was kind of excited to run, and I really wanted to run, but I think he definitely made the right call. But it would be nice at that time to be in there. But now that it's been years since he made that decision, I think he was right. I know he was right. And when I come, I want to at least come with a real good legitimate chance to win, and I'm hopeful it will come.
So do you ever say to your big owners, look, next time you stock up with serious dirt horses or breed serious dirt horses, keep me in mind. They don't have to go elsewhere.
No, I kind of leave it be. I know that I'm thought of as a 2-year-old trainer, but I've bred a lot of horses now that I think will have some good chances. Obviously, everyone that does it breeds them, but I've bred some really, really good pedigree horses. Judy the Beauty is in mine. I have a really, really good yearling this year out of her by Curlin that, he's bred on top and bottom, both sides to do it. And he's got I've never had a horse bred that looks like him. So I'm crossing my fingers.
That will be exciting.
Yeah, right? I think we just had a question come in, if I could find it, from Ricky Santos. Wesley, do you think that Bound for Nowhere has got a chance in the Shakertown at Keeneland this Saturday? And I have to say, Bound for Nowhere, he truly became a fan favorite. I think everybody just jumps behind him, whether it be from Ascot or running here in the States. They're huge fans of Bound for Nowhere.
Yeah, I love that horse. He's just such a cool guy too. And he's right down about six horses down here from the office, and he loves this track. This is his track, his home track. I've got his rider on, Julio Garcia, who gets on him every day for the last 4 years. He only rides for me for the last 10 years, Julio. So we're hoping that he jumps up. By all accounts, the way he's breezing right now, he's never breezed any better. He's breezed as good as he's ever breezed. Fantastic horse. The Breeders' Cup being here this year, we've decided to not send him to Ascot. I was real tempted to get him over to the Jaipur at Belmont, being a grade 1, but I just thought it best for the horse to stay here and run on his home track. And this way he never has to leave his stall essentially for one night until the Breeders' Cup comes around, and hopefully he's that good and as he is right now on Breeders' Cup Day.
Let's have a drink. Should we bring Mark back in? See what he's got for us.
And I have a request.
Lovely bottle of wine. Go for it.
Before Wesley leaves us, I'm hoping maybe, and this is totally off the cuff, I don't know if we have the capabilities of doing this, but you said that Bound for Nowhere is just outside of your office. Maybe before we wrap, could we say hello to some of the horses?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, Mark, take it away.
Good call, Brittany. Good call. All right, guys. So our next drink is the Keeneland Breeze. We're talking about Keeneland coming up this weekend, some great racing action. And this is such a simple and delicious cocktail because it's basically a variation on a whiskey ginger ale or whiskey highball. So all it calls for is Maker's Mark bourbon, orange liqueur, fresh orange juice, and ginger ale. Now, the thing that makes this cocktail so easy, just like the Kentucky Mule that we made a few weeks back, is that it's built in the glass, meaning that in the same glass we're going to serve it in, we're just going to pour all those ingredients on top of one another. So that is so easy that we're actually going to save it for a little bit later on in this demo because it got me thinking. We say things like built or, tossing a cocktail. We have all this terminology that we use behind the bar, and I feel like sometimes it can be a little intimidating for people that are coming up to a bar and that want to order a cocktail just the way that they want it. So I figured let's take a few moments to go through some of those.
That's my favorite sound.
What is that?
Popping up.
All right, I'm just going to keep going. But so we have some terminology within the bar that's somewhat simple, but you just have to know how to navigate it. So one of the biggest sources of confusion that I always hear is the difference between neat and up or straight up. So I want to kind of just dive into that. If you order something neat, it actually doesn't refer to mixed drinks or cocktails at all. What it refers to is something coming out of the bottle and how you want it served. So if you order something neat, you actually just want it going into the glass from the bottle, right in the glass with no ice. So that's neat right there, a Maker's Mark neat. If you order something straight up, the difference there is that whether it's a spirit or a cocktail, it's being chilled, either shaken or stirred, and then strained off the ice and served cold, but without ice. So that's the main difference between neat and straight up. And I got to tell you, at 21 Club, I've got very nice billionaires coming in, and they will order, a Manhattan neat. And nobody would have a Manhattan neat. It just doesn't make sense. But it's a simple mistake to make, and I figured that's why I would clear that up. Now, alternatively, if you like your drink on ice, whether it's a spirit or a cocktail, as we know, that's on the rocks. Okay? Now, as far as how we mix cocktails, we know shaken and stirred. You guys just saw this preparation of rolling a cocktail, this gentle motion from one tin to the next. But before we had the common shakers that we have now, remember, I always geek out about the long history of mixology. They didn't have the Boston shakers and the 3-compartment shakers that we have today. So they would actually have to chill their cocktail by pouring it, I'm going to bend down, at great length, almost like this, between two different containers. And there would be a beautiful stream of liquid. And what would happen is each time that you did that, you would get it more chilled and slightly aerated, somewhere between stirring and shaking a cocktail. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to do it because I will make a mess all over the kitchen and I'll be in trouble.
Say, Nick, like I challenge you.
Yeah.
Oh, we could
Next week.
do a thrown cocktail one week. I'm going to have to practice for that one. The last thing I want to get into real fast, because I'm a Manhattan drinker, and I know probably a lot of our viewers are, because we love bourbon on the show. For Manhattans, the default Manhattan is whiskey, sweet vermouth, and bitters. But if you don't like it that sweet, you may want a dry Manhattan. A dry Manhattan means that you're taking that same portion of vermouth, but you're swapping out dry vermouth for sweet vermouth. Now, maybe you're one of those people that you like it somewhere in between. And if you split the vermouth between dry and sweet, it's actually called perfect. So I want a perfect Manhattan. Now, if you go to a bar and you say to someone, I want a perfect Manhattan, and you mean like, I just want it to be awesome, you may actually get something different than what you expected. So again, a few little tips and tricks as far as when you're ordering drinks at the bar. It's not that complicated, but you just kind of have to know how to navigate it. But going back to our Keeneland Breeze, we're getting excited for this weekend. This is a simple cocktail. As I said, we are going to build it in the glass, which means we're just going to pour. Actually, I'm going to do something you don't see me do too often, which is start with ice in the glass. You know, usually I save that for last, but we're going to put that ice directly in the glass. And now I'm going to do something else you don't see me do that often, which is start with the most expensive ingredient. I'm breaking all the rules. I'm a wild child today. So we're going to do 1.5 ounces of Maker's Mark bourbon. That's going directly into our glass. And now 1/2 ounce of orange liqueur. I'm going to use Cointreau. This is, you know, I never had a Keeneland Breeze until a couple days ago, and it is fantastic. It's a really, really delicious cocktail. And again,
I thought you invented the Keeneland Breeze.
No. You might be thinking of some other race day cocktails there, but I wish I could add that to my list. But I'm super proud of the Garland and the Tory Cup. Who knows? We might bring that back for a third time because this show is going to keep going. It is getting better and better every week. So.
Really? I mean, we're going to have live horses in our show. That's the first.
Yes, yeah. I know everybody's waiting. They're just like, all right, Mark, finish the cocktail. Let's see the horses. All right, we are going to add some fresh orange juice. Let's do 3/4 ounce. Fresh orange juice really makes a big difference. You know, nothing against, you know, those commercial brands, but obviously you can see the difference in the color here. The sweetness level is a little different. So, and that's really it. Now we're going to top it with ginger ale. So it really doesn't get more simple than this. Do that. Put our straw in, give it a little stir at the same time, and garnish it with an orange slice. So a cocktail so simple that I can deviate for 5 minutes about bartending terminology. But that is our Keeneland Breeze.
Cheers.
Definitely great for this weekend. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Mark.
The Breeders' Cup at Keeneland this year. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Haters can be there. Fingers crossed.
There doesn't look like there's much breeze at Keeneland at the moment, Wesley.
Wait a second. Here's going to give you, this guy won today.
This is Fauci.
The mighty Fauci.
Wesley, did you see the Today Show did a hit on the mighty Fauci when he ran second?
There he is.
Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
I was talking to the owners. We might be going over with you, Nick.
When's he coming?
Jim Crack.
Is he? So you know the deal with the Jim Crack Stakes at York. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a Group 2.
I know.
So Group 2, Grade 2 for 2-year-old colts. And if you win the race, the winning owner has to make a speech at the Jim Crack dinner, which is in December at York. So when you win, you have to come back over at Christmas time, and we'll have a good party.
Wow. Who is this?
Bound for Nowhere.
Oh, he's such a trier. So what's their personalities like? So Bound for Nowhere. What kind of laid back guy is he, or is he a bit feisty?
He's a real kind of he only likes a few people. My one groom for 30 years, Manuel, he does not like, and Manuel won't handle him. And Manuel's a pretty tough guy, but he only likes a couple of people. Loves Julio. He's a funny horse, really easy horse to ride, but he's real. You wouldn't know it.
Yeah, he's quite particular, it sounds.
That's why he likes me.
So are you a peppermint trainer rather than the cookies?
What's that?
Or the carrots?
What's that?
Do certain horses only love the peppermints versus the Mrs. Pasture's cookies versus the carrots?
My guys, yeah, a lot of them don't like the carrots, but all of my guys like the candies.
How can they not? How can they not? Hold on.
So who's next, Wes?
We're counting on them. We got a couple college tuitions to pay, so Saturday could do it.
Who's up next? Ooh, could we get a?
He's down here in the main barn, and so a lot of my other guys are up in the tobacco barn where you've been. But I showed you Fauci, so we got high hopes for him. He had a great win today. Excited about that guy.
He's already famous.
Now, who's this?
This is Fauci again.
Oh, this is Fauci again.
Yeah.
What about Maven?
We'll get over to him.
Gotta be patient. I'm so excited.
This is a really nice film. This is Sequin. She was ready to go early. This is she's won 3 seconds last year. She's just getting ready to start back. She's a Coolmore filly.
She looks kind. She had a kind eye.
Yeah.
Look at how happy he is, Nick.
Well,
I love it.
I think they say in his element.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a great spot.
Yeah. I mean, the smile says it all. And
no place like Keeneland.
Mm-mm. And
maybe Ascot.
Wesley, what do you think of Breeders' Cup coming back to Keeneland this year?
I'm all excited. Everybody's excited here for it too.
I thought they did such an unbelievable job first time around for it being a small.
I was really nervous. I didn't know if they could handle the crowd and everything. It was great.
Oof.
Yeah.
This was bound to happen.
We've done pretty well so far. I have no complaints. We're just losing the connection a little, but
I'm sure
I have no complaints.
That was because this is why we love racing. It's the horses.
We got this one.
To see them.
She's on her way to Canada tonight. She runs Saturday in Canada. Designed by Kitten. It's very nice, Mr. Ramsey's filly.
So we can't see you, but we can hear you. So that was designed by Kitten, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't hear him now.
I have faith. I have faith we can get it back to hopefully see Hootenanny or Beauty the Beauty, maybe.
Maven. Can you see Maven?
No,
but we can hear you.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
You'll have to describe him in your best radio voice, Wesley.
I got to be able to get on here.
But this is great. You are absolutely making everyone's day.
Well, you were making everyone's day.
Mm-hmm. But it's what we missed. This is giving us insight that we can't get at all anymore. You and I can't go to the backside. Owners aren't allowed to go to the backside, at least here in Southern California. And so that gives you a bit of a taste of what you're missing.
Yeah, and actually, in all honesty, this has been great, hasn't it? Since lockdown started in February or March, that we've been able to communicate like this. But there's only so many grainy Zoom or other images of people in their living rooms that you want to see. You kind of sometimes crave seeing a bit of the outdoors on these formats, and we're at least getting it now. Oh, where are you, Wesley?
We're
Come
trying.
back to us.
We're trying. We might need photos.
But the great thing is our tolerance of dodgy audio and video is so much greater now than it was 6 months ago.
This is true.
How's your Bloody Mary?
It's quite good, but to be honest, I could usually only drink about half of one because the tomato taste gets to me. Just a bit.
It looks a bit tomatoey.
Yes, it is a bit. Did you have a big winner today? Hot Scott Racing is asking.
Did I have a big winner today?
Mm-hmm.
Maven.
Oh, there's Maven.
Look at that. There we are. We got him.
What's Maven like? What's the personality like there?
He's a good guy. I bred this guy too, so that was really special. I raised the mother in partnership with Richard Raven. And she did really, really good. So I should have him come through for us. First full American Pharaoh, that's great. And then he ran a big race yesterday, ran a 90 buyer, so we got high hopes for him too. I don't know if he can beat Bound for Nowhere in the fall, but
how much satisfaction do you get, Wesley, in horses that you've bred and you have that familial connection with when they get out to the racetrack? How much satisfaction does that bring you, seeing them out there on the track winning?
It really does. You know, I mean, I love all my horses. I'm with them every day, all day. You know, but to actually breed them and then watch them grow up, and then break them, go through all the process, and for the ones that become as good as these guys, you know, it's so fulfilling to carry the whole and actually to see them evolve into something really, really good. And even if they're not, even if we end up winning at Belterra, it still is special.
Do you get aboard any of your horses? Do you still ride?
Yeah. I still break them, not so much anymore because I'm so busy. And the riders that have been with me, the majority of them started as hot walkers and then grooms, and then learned to break the horses and ride, and now exercise riders. So I got some really, really good guys with me. They've been with me a long time, so makes it special. I was really lucky this year in going over there that Blake Heap went. With the pandemic, he made, you know, a lot of the difference. I had two guys over there that had been with me, one in Miami and one in England, but they were only here for a couple of months, so really not knowing the system. And when Blake was able to go prior to they put a lockdown, made a huge difference. That you know, he knows, he's been with me for so long. We've been working together. He actually trained for me when I was a jockey. I bought a horse as a yearling and sent it to Blake. So that's how far we go back, further than 100 pounds.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure seeing the horses, seeing the barn, seeing you in your natural environment, and with a nice glass of red on the go as well. Wesley, thanks so much for being with us. It's been a real pleasure.
Hey,
this was fantastic.
You can have me anytime.
Hey, we'll have you back anytime, as long as we get to see the horses too, because you are making people's days. We miss them so much, and this gave us a bit of joy by seeing them out there. So enjoy your wine and horses. I don't think there's anything better than that, right, Nick?
There is nothing better than wine and horses. You're so right. The only thing that would make this better is if somehow we could contrive the three of us to be in the same room. It will happen one day, I promise.
One day.
Absolutely.
One day. Fingers crossed, Breeders' Cup. That would be a fitting time for us to all be back together.
I keep pushing it back. I was thinking maybe the Derby, maybe the Preakness, anyway. Breeders' Cup, whatever. We'll take it. We'll take it whenever we can get it.
Yes.
I hope you're all keeping well, and we will see you again next week for episode 14 of Cocktails and Conversation.
And
an entity in which I feel happy and privileged each week to be incarcerated. Thank you so much. Good night.
Cheers, guys.